Second, your parliament.
Thank you.
So today is coming full circle. It's a very special moment, really special moment for Freeman and Button and others that they've finally been able to fulfil what they wanted to do was to share with the New Zealand public their concerns about Chinese foreign interference. So it's a very meaningful day. I'm very, very grateful for the support of Laura Trask in accepting this petition. We actually contacted every single political party and asked them to accept the petition. And accepting the petition doesn't mean you agree with it. It's a democratic right that every citizen and resident in New Zealand has to participate in our parliamentary process and put through the petition. So Laura is the only MP who agreed to accept this petition, which represents very heartfelt concerns about China's foreign interference and how it's affecting our democracy, our sovereignty and our national security, both in New Zealand and in the Pacific. And as I said, it's also extremely meaningful because there was a really tragic series of events that happened in 2020, and it's so special to have Freeman with us here today.
What kind of inquiry would you be looking into? A select committee inquiry or a commission inquiry?
要怎么样的调查？你的要求是怎么样的调查？国会的吗？
Yes. In my opinion, research hundreds interference in all level in New Zealand, including university, primary schools, and even church communities, and our politicians and businessmen, all levels. So I think we must investigate it. Thank you.
To this from the Chinese embassy in New Zealand.
你害怕中国大使馆会给新西兰压力吗？或者给个人压力吗？
Yes, a little bit, yes.
Because 个人的担心或者新西兰政府担心对个人的安全关系是政府对新西兰。
Yes. Maybe some 贸易制裁 in New Zealand, and maybe some harassment.
Harassment. So afraid of individual harassment is a real concern. And this has been a great fear. In signing the petition, one of the things we found is that the New Zealand parliamentary process is open and transparent, which for good reasons, but actually when you have vulnerable people wanting to participate in the democracy process, that's inhibitory to them. They're afraid that their emails may be accessible to people who will be in the government that may harass them for participating. So it has been a great fear of people who are wanting to support this petition that by participating that their individual safety will be harmed. But you see how brave they are. People have come today, they've travelled a long way to show their support, but also we've had over 1,000 signatories to this petition despite the deep fears that there were amongst many people about the risk for them of giving their emails, putting them here. We actually had to engage with the New Zealand Parliament Petition Committee to find out how people's privacy is protected because there were genuine fears. This is part of what they were just speaking up for democracy and trying to have individuals that they would be pressured in New Zealand and their family members in China and have them be put under pressure to do this is a real risk.
我也要说，在这个民主和自由的国家，他们会用所有的手段来骚扰危险。
Yeah, so Freeman was saying that democracies are particularly, we're so open and transparent and we're very vulnerable to foreign interference. And Russia and China and other states who are engaging in foreign interference take advantage of our openness and transparency. So the inquiry, as well as the the suggestion of making changes to the Crimes Act to introduce foreign interference is trying to get the balance right, the idea of looking to get the balance right. How can we protect our democracy at the same time and democratic rights at the same time as managing these concerns, national security concerns that we're raising in this petition.
因为统战活动是几乎所有的领域，所有的水域。
A royal commission because you've got to acknowledge the seriousness of what's going on and have some weight and resources put into it.
Making this happen?
Well, it's the first step, and that's the wonderful thing about our democracy is that citizens can say to the government, there's something we need to work on. And we've seen in our history where petition can make a difference. So this is, as I was saying before, this is full circle. Freeman and Nutton, Chalmers and others have tried in the past to put this through. Today's the day that we're finally able to get this petition through, accepted and supported. So it's the first step, and it's one part of our democratic rights, which we're pleased to embrace.
What are the sort of next steps to keep pressure on the issue?
Well, thank you, media, for being here to report what's going on. So the next steps is it goes to the petition committee in the Parliament, and they decide which minister it needs to go to or which parliamentary committee it needs to go to. So there's a bit of bureaucracy involved in democracy, but there's good process because in the past petitions just used to go nowhere. So we know that it's going to go at the next stage, and our MPs can decide what to do with it.
You've obviously got Laura here to accept your petition. Would you expect to see more MPs fronting up, being potentially more outspoken or willing to advocate this issue?
Yes, we approached every single political party, and we also particularly approached MPs that had previously indicated that they were concerned about China's foreign interference. So Laura is the only MP, the sole MP who replied to us and said that they would accept this petition.
What does that say?
Well, given that in our system, an MP accepting a petition does not mean they endorse it necessarily, but they respect the democratic process and that they encourage New Zealand citizens to participate in the democratic process. So I find that really concerning that a series of political parties and their representatives who we approached were not respecting the democratic process, and it indicates that they have some perhaps some anxieties about that we mentioned China. I'm not sure, but it really does not. It doesn't give a good sign if our MPs are not prepared to do what it says in the parliamentary regulations around petitions that any MP can accept a petition, and that accepting it does not mean an endorsement. So why were they giving us the brush off? We had some really ludicrous reasons why people couldn't accept it or they couldn't turn up. It doesn't make sense to me, but I'm really grateful to Laura for being here today, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's really important that these guys get to participate in democracy, despite it being quite a hard topic of discussion. And like I mentioned earlier, that New Zealand's sovereignty is important, and it's not just China. There are many other countries that may wish to interfere with our democracy. So for me, it's about part of this process is about protecting ourselves here in New Zealand. And yeah, I'm very happy to take the petition.
Yeah, a really important issue is trust for our vulnerable communities in New Zealand who don't feel safe. I mean, a lot of New Zealanders won't know what we're talking about. They couldn't imagine that all their community groups have been controlled by foreign power, that their language media has been controlled by foreign power, that their churches are controlled.
Really serious problem. And when the Chinese government translated in New Zealand, I was also very punched by the people of the government, of the China government. And after that, I was able to for my opposition. And also after that, the judge of the guy gave the mouth of the people who support democracy. And I also feel free to tell other people that my real name, I can't use my real name because I'm here. I feel I was the 肖志宏 he may go to me. So that's why I was here to give my real name. So my old friend don't know about it.
So we can't tell you what his name is,
Yeah.
but simply to say that there's such fear, and so to be able to come today and to be here present and to participate in our democratic system and to be heard, that the petition is going through. This is very meaningful and important, which is why, going back to your original question, it was particularly disturbing that no other MP were doing it. We need this kind of assurance from our government that they acknowledge and understand the vulnerability of certain communities in New Zealand and the need for some changes in our legislation and also addressing some problems within different departments of government as Freeman highlighted in his comments.
We don't want to live under the fear anymore. We want to fight. We want to protect the democracy. We want to protect freedom. We want to protect our human rights. So we want to put back. We want to submit this bill. We really hope for that it will be successful. We really want to stay in New Zealand and stay here.
How scary is it being here today now?
Yeah.
Are you scared of being here today?
Yeah, of course, because you guys are recording and you will publish on the social media and the government will know. Of course, we will feel fear. But even with your fear, we still need to stand out. We want to protect our human rights. This is our duty and our duty. We need to stand out. We need to protect ourselves, also protect the democracy and freedom.
One thing you'll find amongst this group is a great love of New Zealand and really wanting to raise the alarm, as Freeman was in his remarks at the beginning, raise the alarm to New Zealand society to protect this beautiful place and the wonderful democracy that we have. So that is a really deep feeling. I wonder if because I know that you have some things to say about that. There's always some 要保护好新西兰的民主这个社会。
我在纽西兰已经生活了30年以上，但是我在这30年当中，深深感觉到中共渗透纽西兰的势力是越来越强。
So he's lived here for more than 30 years, but he's felt that China's foreign interference is getting more and more aggressive and deep in New Zealand society.
我们纽西兰价值联盟组织的很多活动都有中共派人来骚扰、跟踪、拍照片，对我们形成了很大的安全上的威胁。
So the New Zealand Values Alliance, which is a group of individuals who are coming together to uphold and support New Zealand democracy and wanting to stand together around democracy, that they have been harassed by Chinese government officials in New Zealand, photos taken of them and of their events. And that's just one small indication of what it's like to be a Chinese person in New Zealand and be involved in a social activity that is outside the control of China's United Front organisations, which are SAS in the Freedom Assessment this year talking about policy groups and United Front organisations. So that is in it's the public conversation now that our governments acknowledge they exist. And you have very few groups like New Zealand Values Alliance who stand apart from that and are genuinely social organisations representing the New Zealand Chinese community. But they are continually harassed for being different.
Last time you tried to do this petition, the last time there was a petition, there was a car accident.
Yes, Freeman was one of the victims of the car collision. So there were two cars going down. So Chomboji was in one car and Freeman.
那个皮肤脱皮不是带的。
This is a really big day.
Yeah. So now is fully mad. This speech is very hard.
Still affected by the
CCP 就是威胁我们很多威胁我们的案件，这些案件呢，我们向这个是警方汇报，在警方呢都 把它当做一种普通的刑事案件。他这个刑事案件，他认为还没到了这个很高的级别，所以不予理睬。但是我们跟他说的非常清楚，这不是普通的刑事问题，这是一个后面是有政治背景的。所以说，
So this is very important. So another, apart from the foreign interference, one of the problems is New Zealand police has not been investigating foreign interference incidences. So they have reported many serious assaults and other instances that have occurred. And the New Zealand police appear to not take foreign interference seriously or consider it a crime. So it is very helpful that our government is now contemplating.
把他们的这些 MP 政家，还是把中国当成一个正常的国家，其实它不是一个正常的国家。所以说媒体一定要尽量多宣传，中国不是一个正常的国家，跟纽西兰这个制度是完全相反的一个国家，这是非常重要。
Okay, so what Tawiti wanted to explain is that in the New Zealand media and also New Zealand politicians talk about China, they talk about it as if it was equivalent of New Zealand, same kind of justice system, same kind of police system and so on. It's not the same, it's very different. It's an authoritarian state and it uses methods of foreign interference to intimidate their own citizens as well as try and interfere in the politics of another country. So it's really important that the media understand that the People's Republic of China has a very different system from New Zealand and that we're asking for an inquiry into China's foreign interference in our democracy and into the wider Pacific, which are very different from anything that New Zealand or any of our partners would do.
感觉不到安全，我们的生命然后受到威胁。
Feel safe in New Zealand. And our
然后因为我们的这个异议的声音，然后导致这个共产党对我们进行人身攻击。然后他在纽西兰，他可以任意的找到我们的家。
So it's like being in China. The reach of the Chinese state in New Zealand.
我在和平抗议的时候，然后被他们给围攻。但是我向警方报案的时候，但警方只是把它作为一个普通的案件。
So he was peacefully protesting in New Zealand at the time of the Lee Chang visit, and he was physically attacked and harassed by people who are very obviously associated with United Front organisations, and the police did not take that complaint seriously. Did not.
但其实它就是一个政治事件。在此之后，李强就是在这李强访问之后，然后我家被他们给找到了，他们在我家门口信箱里面，然后泼粪便。然后对我造成这种死亡威胁，让我感到很恐惧。
So it was a political incident, and it didn't just end with the harassment of the peaceful protests. Somebody also found out where he lived and put extra men there and other things there to harass and intimidate him that we know where you live. And the police still didn't take it seriously.
根据我有视频，然后记录到这个部分的事件，然后也指认了一些就是说中共的代理人，我报告给警方了，然后到现在都没有任何的消息，感觉得不到重视。
He showed he had video recording that showed who was attacking him, and as I said, it's clearly identified these are people who are involved in, I mean, not just in small United Front groups, the most prominent United Front group in New Zealand, and the police still did nothing, knowing that. Having all that information about who did it and also the associations. It was a case of finding